So welcome officially to the Zoom meet for UKHA. Tonight is a special kind of meeting. Lorraine, would you like to welcome everyone and tell us a little bit about why this particular meeting is special? I've heard that it's taken about a year and a bit to organise it.
It definitely has. So good evening, everybody, and welcome to this evening's Zoom call. As Joe said, I'll introduce myself in a moment, but as Joe said, it has taken over a year and a half when Nicola and I sat a year and a half ago at one of our meetings talking about planning our next meeting where we would all get together. Little did we know that COVID would hit and we would have to have our meeting like this, but it's fine. We're having a meeting, and it's I know we only just had our Zoom meeting, but it was really important that we got it in. We felt, both Nicola and I felt, that it was better to get it in before Monday the 17th when the majority of the hotels opened up, and also Nicola ends her moment of being chair for 2 years, so it was really good that we collaborated and we worked that. So for me, that was really important. So thank you, and thank you to Nicola, and thank you to Katie for joining us this evening. Really appreciate that.
Brilliant. Katie, can you tell us a little bit about yourself? Nicola, can you tell us a little bit just about yourself? Katie, if we start with you, if you don't mind introducing yourself.
Sure. So yeah, so I was brought up in the hospitality industry. So my parents retired from it a few years ago now, and my youngest son is a chef. And so I'm still, you know, heart and soul in the hospitality industry. So it's a real honour to be invited tonight. So thank you very much for that. I know how hard it is. And I was in a hotel yesterday, which was getting ready to open on Monday, and it's just mad. So yeah. So I hope you're all okay. It's a real big week next week. And, you know, those of us who aren't in the hospitality industry, we can't wait to come back. So we're very grateful that you're getting everything ready and really looking forward to supporting you. So yeah, from my origins in the hospitality industry, I went on to train in nutrition. Taught nutrition in universities and colleges for a while, but I discovered mindfulness in my own life, and that started creeping into what I was teaching, and eventually people were like, why are you so calm and positive? Like, what are you doing? And in those days, mindfulness wasn't really known about. I discovered it back in about 2001, something like that.
I just need to mute.
Yeah, 20 odd years. So and so gradually people started to want to know more about mindfulness, and now I teach it full time. So I'm here to share a few hints and tips with you tonight that I hope will make the transfer next week more fun and enjoyable for you. Although
that's absolutely amazing.
Excited as we are, so it's going to be great.
Thank you so much, Katie. That's absolutely amazing. I think we all need a little bit of mindfulness, especially during this week. You know, this is a mental health awareness week, and actually the topic this year is nature and how to connect with nature. And I think mindfulness, at least for myself, mindfulness a lot of times comes in nature, because that seems the place where I can unplug. So hopefully you bring us a little bit of sort of joy and calm in this week specifically, which is really good. Nicola, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yes, so I, as Lorraine has said, I'm still currently president of AICR UK for one more week, and then we have our AGM at the end of this week, and our lovely Vice President Johanna will be taking over, and I hope we'll continue the relationship with working closely with you. I work in a country hotel in Hampshire called Heckfield Place. Talking of nature, I'm surrounded by nature. We have 438 acres. We've got our own farm, our own dairy. So yeah, very lovely, restful place. And as of next Monday, it's pretty much fully booked. So yeah, calm before the storm at the moment. Yeah, and obviously things have changed a lot over the past year, and we're very grateful to one of our members, Adam, who actually introduced us to Katie. And obviously we've had to do things differently to what we would normally do. And we celebrate International Receptionist Day each year, which is actually coming up this week as well. And last year, we did a prize for all of our receptionists who had put, so the competition was to put together a photograph, which sort of conveyed, and the best one was like the whole team that they'd managed to get together. And it was actually the Ritz, and they won a mindfulness course, which Katie kindly delivered. So that's why we have a connection with Katie. And we're very grateful to her for joining us tonight.
That's brilliant. Thank you very much. So Katie, you know, we are going to hear I'm going to sort of shoot some really relevant questions at the two ladies later on. So they're not going to be calm at all because they're already like, you've got too many questions. What if I can't answer it? I was like, don't you worry. When I open it to the whole panel, you know, it's going to get worse. But before we start with the questions about, you know, why housekeeping and front of house argue all the time and how do we fix it? Do tell us a little bit about what you do and how we can keep calm in the coming weeks and really harness that potential of being mindful.
Sure.
Over to you.
Thank you very much. Well, when Nicola and I were chatting, we decided that what would be good to do is that I put together a little presentation for you. And I'm very happy to share the slides with you afterwards. So I'll send them to Nicola afterwards so that you've got them for reference. So we're not actually going to do a meditation, but there are free ones on my YouTube channel, as you probably saw from the sign up. So today is more about giving you some ideas of kind of, because a lot of people think that mindfulness is just about meditation, and it's so much more than that. So if it's okay with you, I'm going to share my screen now, but just because I disappear doesn't mean that you can't ask questions and make comments and stuff. So feel free to put anything in the chat if you'd like to, and I'll also stay on for questions afterwards for a little while before Joe puts Nicola and Lorraine in the hot seat. So hopefully this will put you all into a calm space before we begin that. So I'm just going to share my screen and play from the start. Oh, there we go. Okay. So this is what we're going to be covering today, is just what mindfulness is and exploring basically how it can help us. So these are all the aspects we're going to look at, but let's dive in straight away with what mindfulness actually is. So I'm just going to change my settings. There we go, so I can see a bit more clearly. So mindfulness does come from the Buddhist tradition. It forms one part of the noble eightfold path to liberation. So that's a nice thing to think about, is that mindfulness is all about liberating ourselves from any kind of suffering. So whether that's anxiety or any other form of difficult emotion, that's what mindfulness is all about, is becoming calmer and happier. But it's not an ideology. You don't have to believe anything at all. Buddhism separately can obviously be a religion, but in terms of the way that we teach mindfulness nowadays, it's very much sits alongside all faiths and none. So mindfulness, like I said, it's not just about meditation. That's one small part of it. It's more about a way of being or a way of responding to the world. So the reason that we would meditate is to develop a skill that then we would take into life. So for example, if I knew that I was quite anxious at the moment, I would meditate to focus on calming myself, so that as I finished meditating, I would then get up and be calmer in the world. So there are types of meditation where you're just using mantras and so on, and basically you're kind of escaping. But mindfulness meditation is about developing skills so that we can engage with the world. So the reasons that we practice it, primarily, one of the things is to stop running through life. There's a Zen master called Thich Nhat Hanh, who when he first came to the West noticed the way that most of us live our lives, and he said, you are always running and you never arrive. And I thought, yeah, that's about how my life feels most of the time. So mindfulness helps us to stop running, to find a sense of this calm stability. So it avoids us denying or fighting or freezing or running away from reality. It gives us this calm, stable ability to see things as they really are, so that then we can gain insight, to inspire transformation in ourselves and in those around us. So it's really about being fully present for all aspects of life and responding by taking action. So it's not about escaping life through meditation, and we don't simply focus on the good, which is what sometimes people think it's all about. The only reason in mindfulness that you focus on the good, which is one of the things I'm going to talk to you about, is to build your resilience, so that then when you're feeling stronger, then you can turn towards the things that need to be looked at in life and respond more creatively to that. And tonight is about mindful self-care. So why on earth should we look after ourselves? And I think particularly in hospitality, when the focus is all on caring for the guests, it's all about the guest customer experience, is that if you and I feel calm and strong and happy, and we take that out into the world, then we can help other people. But it's like you have to begin with yourself. There's another great quote which I love, is that there's no point being an angry peace campaigner. and that really stuck with me, is that if I want to see the people around me having a great time, I have to be genuinely happy in myself. So there is never anything selfish about mindful self-care. Ultimately, it's about the way that we are in the world. So how do we start to build this sense of stability in the present moment? I want to give you some real practical ideas here. So the first thing is to notice how often your mind wanders off to check the horizons. Probably already your mind has wandered off loads of time, even though I'm being fascinating, obviously, but you will have thought of lots of different stuff, okay? So the first thing is that that's what our mind does. So if you ever do try to meditate, there is absolutely no way you'll be able to focus all the way through. So mindfulness is becoming aware of when our mind has wandered off and is telling us stories that may not be true. So this is one of the things that I would suggest you do on a little postcard. Is it true? Are you sure? Because a lot of the time what I'm thinking is nonsense, or I'm worrying about things that may or may not ever happen. And by worrying about those things, I'm not in the present moment, but I'm building up anxiety in myself, or anger, or all these difficult emotions. So mindfulness helps us to be aware of where our mind is, what we're thinking about, and helps us build the skills to place it somewhere more constructive. But we do this in a kind way, because the reason that our mind is wandering is because it's trying to keep us safe. It's scanning the horizon. What's this? What's that? What about that? What about this? So we do it with kindness, because we recognize that although sometimes our mind feels as though it's trying to trip us up, it's actually trying to help us. So to come into the present moment, we need something to use as an anchor, something that feels safe and comforting, so that your mind can relax, come to rest, you can feel calmer and safer. But we, as I say, we always do this lightly and kindly. So mindfulness practice should never feel like a struggle. You've got to have a sense of humor with mindfulness, because it's amazing, certainly for me, what I think about and where my mind goes. And to learn to turn towards that with kindness and compassion is one of the key things to learn. So we can have a bit of a play with this now. So to find the anchors that work for you, what can you sense now in the present moment? And maybe start with, what can you see around you that when you look at it, you think, oh, that's nice. And you get that nice warm feeling. So just take a minute to look around. And that might be nature, but hopefully you can see something that maybe could anchor you. So in other words, each time your mind wanders off and starts to make you feel uncomfortable, you can come back and think, oh, but that makes me feel great. But doing it consciously and having worked it out beforehand is really valuable. It might be that you're the kind of person that likes to hear things, and maybe this is more effective for you. So right now, I'm in Manchester, it is chucking it down. But I can hear the rain on the roof, and I really like that. And I live in suburbia, so a lot of the time I can hear the traffic, which makes me feel kind of comforted. Is there anything you can hear now that you like? Good, good. I'm just trying to get the chat to come down. There it is. I can see there's something appeared in the chat. I hear my kids screaming in the garden. Well, hopefully that's a positive thing, screaming with fun, which is good. Great, good stuff. Smell or taste. So this is a bit more Easter, but I have a cup of tea here, which smells great. It's white tea, which has got a really distinctive smell. And obviously when I taste it, I can taste the tea. And that's something that makes me feel really calm and comforted. And as though I'm really taking care of myself, because I've taken some time to choose what tea I was going to drink, choose a really nice mug that a friend gave me, all of those positive connotations. And again, if you found that sight worked for you, is there light in your room? Maybe there are some reflections in the actual tea. One's quite sparkling when I look at it. You see, and it's so easy to miss those kind of details that make you feel good. If you're just thinking of other things and how many times have you drunk a cup of tea and got to the end and thought, oh, I don't actually remember drinking that? Or you've left it on the side and have forgotten to drink it. So smell or taste could work really nicely for some people. It can be about touch. So it can be as simple as giving yourself a quick hug. I've got a nice jumper on today, that feels quite good. Or having something like, I've got one of these little pocket hug. They're like a little pebble that you can keep in your pocket. And when you run your fingers over it, the words are actually in it. So that feels nice and quite comforting. So keeping a pebble in your pocket or something, you know, it's quite subtle. So even if you're at work, you can just kind of like, you know, rub your sleeve or something, and that's just a comforting thing to do. And of course, the classic thing that most people know about is breathing when it comes to meditation. So when we take our attention to our breath in mindfulness, the important thing is not to change the breath. It's to notice that you can just relax and your body is breathing for you. And particularly if you notice the rise and fall of your belly, sensing your breath quite low down in your body can be very comforting. And you can do that really subtly, you know. So if you're at work and you're thinking, starting to get a bit stressed now, you can just kind of drop your weight down into your hips, notice that your body is breathing, feel your feet on the floor, and you kind of come into the present moment and feel more calm and safe and secure. So just notice what works best for you. And then that means that when you recognize or become mindfully aware, I'm starting to get a bit stressed now. Okay, well, what I need to do is find something to see or something to hear that will calm me down and bring me into the present moment. So tuning in with your breath is the classic, because you've always got your breathing with you. And it's very subtle. Nobody knows what you're doing. So when it comes to taking the good, one thing that's interesting to know is that negative experience is instantly stored in our memory, because say you touch something hot, it's got to be an instant reaction and make sure you never do that again. But unfortunately what happens therefore is that, you know, that guest or that odd comment that upsets you is something that will really stay with you. So we need to be really kind to ourselves around that and realize again that our mind is doing that to try and keep us safe and help us to learn from our experiences. But what we need to consciously do is balance that view of life with the good things. So every time you have a moment that you really enjoy, think, this is a great moment. Just take 3 breaths and really make sure that your mind has noticed it, so that you get a balance between the negative and positive in your life, so that then you have a more balanced view of what's going on, because our brains tend to go for the negative. So if you want to know more about that, I've put a reference on there for you. Rick Hanson's a really good guy, talks a lot about that. And how do we create these mindful self-care pauses in our days? So keep inviting your mind back to the present, compassionate curiosity. What can I find in the present moment that's going to make me feel safer and more secure? But also then, when you do feel stronger, what is really going on for me? Why am I upset by this? What's being triggered in me? Is it actually something quite deeper that I need to look at when I've got more time and space? Or am I actually reacting to what's going on in this present moment? So this compassionate curiosity about what's going on for us is really important. But notice the pleasant moments in each day. You're doing this to build resilience and avoid feeling overwhelmed, to balance that negative idea. And so an exercise to do that is ending each day by asking yourself, what went well? And like I say, please get a sense of humour about this. So one of the things that you could say is, well, I managed to carry a cup of tea across reception without tripping over today. Now, maybe you've never tripped over, but don't miss the point that that went well, like walking with a cup of tea, that went well. So don't make it into something too big, get a sense of humour about it, what went well. And it's quite surprising when you really focus in on the small things in life, how many things go well. And what we're doing is building our self-esteem, showing ourselves all the little wins in life. Because I don't know about you, but I have to work at that. Something goes well and I'm just like, oh, thank goodness that went well. And I'm on to the next thing. And what I'm thinking about, my brain is focusing on the negative stuff. So we need to really balance that, as I say. So what went well is a really important little phrase to remember, and maybe even writing it down if you've got any piece of paper, but some kind of journal. It's a nice one to do, what went well. Explore moving mindfully, releasing tension that you're holding in your body is a good way to chill out. And I love this. Walk as if your feet are kissing the earth, because you cannot walk like that if you're holding tension in your body or anger or anxiety, or you're not in the present moment. So every time you're aware, even if you're just getting up to go to the bathroom, how am I walking right now? Am I walking as though my feet are kissing the earth, or am I actually holding all of this tension? I need to just release, chill out, come to the present moment, enjoy life, Here I am. This is what I've always wanted to do. The industry's opening up again. It's all good, but, you know, trying to, you know, stay in touch with the fun side of hospitality and what we're all doing. So how do you create these mindful self-pauses? Another way to do it, just sit and watch the clouds pass by. Notice how the light changes. Everything is flowing and impermanent. Our emotions, our thoughts and feelings. So if you're starting again to feel stuck, you're like, okay, right in this present moment, this is rubbish. If I just wait, breathe, just like the clouds, any minute now, my brain will go off in another direction. And as long as I'm letting things flow, things will change for me and I can find some fun again. And again, remembering, tuning into your breathing. If you haven't got time to do a meditation, 3 breaths is enough to make a difference. Just 3 slow breaths, tune into something, and then reconnect with the day. Now, when it comes to the science, if you do want to do some meditation, the actual, just the breathing, focusing on your breath, allowing your body to breathe, and letting go of the tendency we all have to hold our breath and to control it. That sense of coming towards ourselves with kindness, letting life flow, helps to reduce this repetitive negative thinking, increase optimism about the future. And if you want to look at a kind of meditation that has words with it, the one that has the best evidence for self-care is what's called Metta, or loving kindness meditation. And they've used, you know, those wires on your head to track what happens in your brain. And in one experiment, it's shown that the part of our brain that is really busy when we're judging ourselves, beating ourselves up about stuff, dwelling on all the things that have been rubbish in the past, and worrying about the future to the point where we have no idea where we actually are because we're so busy caught in all our negative thinking. If we do this meditation, that part of our brain calms down. Hurrah. So this is the one to look for if that feels familiar. In the experiment, he used a simplified version of the traditional form. So he just used the words, may I be happy, may I be healthy, may I be safe. I'll be free from suffering. And suffering in mindfulness can mean anything from a little bit of anxiety through to physical pain. So it's, you know, just use whatever words feel right for you. But the important thing is we start by wishing ourselves well. And it's not like, oh, wish I was happy. It's like, it's as though you wish somebody happy birthday. It's like, oh, may I be happy. That would be really great. May I be healthy, that would be awesome. Safe, definitely want to be safe, lovely. So it's a relaxed way of wishing yourselves well. Start with yourself, then you think about the people around you, and then you push it out right into the world. Because when we're anxious and caught in our own thoughts, we're very focused in on ourselves. So this meditation, instead of beating ourselves up, starts by helping us to be kind to ourselves. Then we connect with other people and we realize that they're all going through similar kind of things. We wish them well, push it out into the whole world. And by the time we're pushing out that good vibes all across the world, we start to feel better in ourselves. Because mindfulness, a lot of it is about where we place our focus. And notice when you get caught in negative thoughts, very inward. So again, if you use an anchor in the present moment, what can I see? What can I hear? What can I feel? Can I feel my feet on the floor where I'm sitting? And it opens you up and helps the stress to drop. So weaving Metta into your life, again, it's better if you sit down to do the meditation. That's what the research shows, but make it relevant to you. Use phrases that mean something to you. So if you think, you know what, I need to feel calmer or safer or more secure or stronger or whatever it is you want to feel, use those words, one on the in-breath and one on the out-breath. Is the classic thing. And you don't need to be sitting still. You can be sitting at your desk. You can be cleaning. You can be making beds. You can be doing anything at all. Standing on reception, sitting on reception, whatever it is. But just quietly, just while you're doing what you're doing, just thinking calm, safe, calm, safe. You can do it as you walk, one word with each step. Calm, safe, calm, safe. And notice if you're worrying or thinking badly about someone, replace those negative thoughts with positive ones. So for example, when my boys first left home, you know, I used to worry about them and I used to think, oh dear, I wonder if, you know, I wonder if they're going to be safe, and are they going to do this and what's going to happen? And instead I noticed that, well, what is it that I want for them? So I want them to be safe and I want them to be happy. So I replaced the worry with thinking about, may they be safe, may they be happy. So I'm wishing them well instead of getting caught in my negative thinking. Let's move that on. So start with ourselves. This is another great way to do it. Wake up by smiling at yourself, starting from your toes and including each part of your body in turn, ending at the top of your head. So this is before you've even got out of bed, because I don't know about you, but if life is difficult or the alarm's just gone off, it's easy to wake with like a rush of adrenaline. Your mind is immediately leaping forward into the day. So it's really powerful to say, no, I am not going to start my day by running. I'm just going to take a minute, smile, I'm going to relax, going to let that drop. When I am calm, then I will get out of bed. And then you begin your day in that way. You can prepare for sleep by doing it the other way around, starting at the top of your head, working through to your toes, and you can use phrases that work for you. So traditionally, you would use aware of my toes, smiling to my toes. And it's a pretty odd thing to do, so hopefully it genuinely makes you smile. But what you're trying to do is build a sense of kindness, building a sense of friendship with your physical body. So it's really important. It's something we're terrible at in the West, is really always thinking, oh, I wish this was different and that was different and this bit didn't hurt. And so to turn towards ourselves with kindness can really, really change things for us. And bringing a sense of kindness and care to your everyday activities really changes them. So do you remember even getting showered today, or were you doing it thinking already about the day? I mean, if you were bathing someone else, you would do it with such care and kindness. And so it's bringing that sense of care and kindness to the things that we do anyway, showering, washing our hair, dressing ourselves. Again, if you were dressing someone else, how carefully you would do that. And if you think about it, you put on shoes to protect your feet. You put on a coat so you're warm. And really thinking about that as you're pulling your coat on, putting your shoes on, getting dressed can really change things for ourselves. Thinking about the way that we feed ourselves, exercise, rest. Doing that with a sense of being your own best friend, of having your own back, really can change things. Developing this sense of compassion about finding this work, rest, play balance. And that's something I think most of us struggle with, but when you bring that sense of friendship and compassion and kindness to it, it can be much easier to find that right balance. And remember where we started with, running through life. Mindfulness is about taking a breath, a pause, and looking deeply at what's going on for us. How can we see clearly how best to care for ourselves? And then when we're feeling stronger, about caring for other people. So when it comes to caring for others with kindness, we listen deeply to ourselves first. What's really going on for me? How am I today? Do I need to be kinder to myself so that then I'm less stressed? And then I'm going to be less stressed with the people around me. And then when I'm less stressed, I think, well, hang on a minute. If I'm stressed, why is this person seeming really on edge today? Like, what's going on for them? Maybe they're stressed too. So by learning to turn towards ourselves with kindness, it becomes easier to turn towards other people with kindness as well, and really listen with your full attention. I'm sure you all know what it's like when someone's half listening and kind of checking their phone, or you can just tell there's a kind of a blank thing there, like they're not listening properly. So to listen deeply is a really powerful way to connect with ourselves and with others. So be curious about how you and they might be feeling. Remember that compassionate curiosity. What's really going on here for them? This is what I'm seeing on the surface. They seem really angry, but why are they angry? What's happening, and how can I help kind of unravel that? So speaking with kindness and compassion to yourself is how we begin in mindfulness. Noticing that negative inner talk that we mentioned earlier, changing that to be kinder towards ourselves. Then it becomes easier to do it to other people. Or maybe you're the kind of person who's really kind and compassionate and lovely with everyone around you, but in your head, you're beating yourself up all the time. So with that metta meditation that I mentioned, sometimes people find it easier to wish other people well. And when they get into that vibe, then they kind of think, okay, well, now maybe I can include myself in that. So if you find it difficult to be kind to yourself, start with others and then bring that sense of kindness towards yourself. But as we all move into this next phase, it's going to be full on, isn't it, over these next few weeks and months. So hopefully today has given you some ideas where you can learn to be kind to yourself. You can find some peace and calm in the midst of all the craziness that's going to happen. And in those really busy moments where it's all kicking off, hopefully you will be able to pause for a minute and say, this is the buzz that I came into this for. isn't this brilliant? We're back, we're doing what we love doing. And I'm really going to enjoy and notice those little moments, look after myself, and then I can have fun and look after everyone else as well. So that's a real whistle-stop tour through mindfulness for self-care. So it's always really personal. Please do put in the chat box if you'd like to what felt like the most relevant ideas. And if you've got any questions, obviously put those in there as well. And then I think you've already all got the link to my website, but I've got all sorts of resources on there that you're welcome to explore in your own time. And if you ever want to drop me a message, I'm on all the social media platforms. You can link through to them from my website. But yeah, just keep in touch. And as I say, thank you for doing what you do. It's wonderful. And I can't wait to be back and see you all. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen and open it up for questions if anyone has any.
Katie, this was brilliant. Thank you so much.
You're very welcome. You're very welcome.
It's very topical, you know, for you know, people in hospitality, for people in the world at the moment.
Yeah.
Is there anyone who would like to pose a question, whether they would like to unmute themselves and ask, or a comment that they would like to make, or if they would like to use a chat? Oh, I've got Stephen said, my wife just shouted from the other room, tell Katie she's brilliant. So that's
oh,
Stephen. Just so you know, you're brilliant. And I think we all share that. If there isn't any questions just at this moment, or people are coming up with questions and typing them, I've got one. We're here today in a historic moment of actually getting two organizations, membership organizations for housekeepers and for front of house managers together for the first time ever. You know, there's this mythical divide that has existed probably from the times of ancient Rome, when one housekeeper got pissed off with one front of house manager, or vice versa, and it stayed that way forever. Or not, I don't know, but it's the question that I have for you is, can mindfulness genuinely help in conflict management situations? Yeah. And is there anything that you can share with us, in addition to what you have now, as a practical solution to a conflict situations that people might be facing at work, whether that's with, you know, housekeepers, front of house managers, or you know, in general, people at work?
Definitely, and in our personal lives as well. Yeah, hugely. Yeah, there's a whole aspect of mindfulness called deep listening and compassionate speech. And this is a practice. So when somebody starts to speak to you and they're full of anger, your practice is just to listen. And this comes from a Zen master called Thich Nhat Hanh, who was proposed for the Nobel Peace Prize in 1967 by Martin Luther King for his work in the Vietnam War. So this isn't me making this up. This is from someone who went on to win a Nobel Peace Prize. So I think he's probably got some quite good experience of this kind of thing. So yeah, the way that he explains it is that particularly if someone is angry, is to really, really listen, and to take care of your own emotional reaction. So they start, and you think, so they're being, you know, they've got something to unload. You're going to react to that. And for you to think, wow, I'm feeling quite, fill in the blank. How are you going to feel? Do you feel as though you're being attacked? Do you feel angry? Whatever that emotion is, the way that it's explained is, it's as though a parent is embracing their child who is upset. So the first thing you do is just give yourself a hug and help yourself to calm down. And at that stage, you don't worry about what's really going on. So while somebody is talking to you, it's breathing, feeling your feet on the floor, dropping down, letting your own emotions settle, and really listening. So when they get to a pause, instead of coming back with a counter, asking another question. Why is that so difficult for you? How is that, you know, and really start to understand what is going on behind the problem that is being presented to you, and ask, how can I help? It's like being the best customer service helpline. And we're probably all great at doing it with guests. It's harder with colleagues, isn't it? You know, but if you had an angry guest, I'm sure you would do that, isn't it? It's what you're trying to do is listen, be really, really calm, and help them to tell you what the solution is. Because if we leap in too quickly with our own solutions, we can be off the mark. But if we throw it back to them, how can we help? And the way that that Thich Nhat Hanh really is very clear about that is that he says, if they have some wrong perceptions, do not correct them at the point where all you are doing is listening. Wait. Wait until you've really listened, really understood, so that both of you are calm. And then when they say, how do you feel about that? Or what can you do to help? You can go back and say, can I just clarify something? You know, when you said this, well, my perception is a little bit different, and this is how I see it. So that there's real clarity about what's going on for you. But what I would suggest also is that if you're the person that's taking the issue to someone else, first of all, look deeply at what's going on for you so that you can explain it properly. Because sometimes what's going on is I'm getting really stressed out about this and I'm going to come roaring in with a problem. But why am I so stressed about it? Maybe it's because you're actually concerned that you're not going to achieve whatever it is you're trying to achieve. So your anger is coming from a good place, if you know what I mean. But so maybe if you went to that person and say, listen, I am absolutely doing my best, but this is what is going on for me. These are the issues it causes. This is how I think it can be solved. Or you go to them and say, this is what's going on for me, please help. Asking the other person for help to solve the problem. So that is in a really great book called Anger by Thich Nhat Hanh, which is difficult to spell, so I happen to have a book. That's how you spell Thich Nhat Hanh. And his book called Anger is fantastic. A lot of his books are very, very easy to read that you can dip in and out of. There's also a book which is called Communicating, but you can use that one as well, but full of practical ideas. So
brilliant. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
So the idea is not to jump on your keyboard and respond to that email, but step away from the keyboard, step away from the keyboard. That's my technique. Definitely. And I think you make a really important point there. Pick up the phone. Yeah.
You know,
Isn't it?
Yeah, I think we've all learned this over this year, isn't it? Is that, boy, it's going to be so much easier when we can actually like really talk to each other. Yeah.
This is really helpful, and again, I do think that all of these techniques help to really become mindful of your own emotional state and to lead with the best mindset forward when you're dealing with certain challenges. It's not the easiest thing in the heat of the moment, but it's one of those things that you can practice. And 7 out of 10, if out of 10 situations you've got 7 where you're controlling your emotions really well and you're able to be your best self, then I think you're winning in life.
Definitely. And it's really great if you work in a team. So in the past, I've come in and worked with teams in organizations. If everybody knows that, so that you all have got some level, and obviously in a team, some people engage more with mindfulness than others, and that's fine. But if both of you can say, shall we just take 3 breaths at this point? And it's so powerful, because then you just suddenly go, yeah, you're right. Let's just breathe, because actually we're on the same team. Like you say, it can feel as though you're on 2 separate teams, but you're really not. Everyone, say from all my experience, everybody wants to deliver awesome customer service. And also everybody wants to come to work and have a good time, and feel rewarded. So we're all trying to achieve the same thing. And I think recognizing as well our shared desire to have fun and, do stuff that's great. And that's what we all want, isn't it? To really, for people to walk into our hotels and go, wow, unbelievable.
This was really helpful, Katie. Thank you so much. If nothing, I think taking away these nuggets of wisdom and bringing it to your teams, whether that's your housekeeping team or your front of house team, and sharing just the practice of the 3 breaths, but actually explaining that in advance could be that one thing that binds us together and makes everyone smile when, you know, a manager says, okay, let's do the 3 breaths because I'm feeling that, you know, something's going on. It will get that tension, you know, just away, and that really makes a difference. Can we all have a round of virtual applause for Katie for the most amazing presentation and for the practical application that you have provided us with? I think it really makes a difference. Katie, thank you so much. If there's no more questions, we're going to release you from the duty, and we're going to actually now grill Nicola and Lorraine about, you know, a couple of things that they need to tell us. Lorraine, you're staying. Katie might be going.
Yeah, I will say my farewells. Thank you so much for inviting me.
Absolute
Real
pleasure.
honor.
Thank
and like
you.
I say, have a wonderful, wonderful time from Monday onwards. Take care.
Thanks,
Thank you
Katie.
so much, Katie.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Right, ladies, I hope you've had enough mindfulness now for you know, for you to prepare for the questioning that we have in front of us. If you have any questions, guys, feel free to put it in the chat box. The idea is to get as sort of loud and as sort of inquisitive as we can to find out a little bit more about the organizations in the next 17 minutes that I have. So my question for you, ladies, Nicola, if I start with you, is could you tell us a bit about your organization so the UKHA members understand what you guys do in the association?
Okay, so we are the Association of Front Office Managers. So we're mainly made up of sort of front office managers, rooms division managers. Obviously we're the UK section, but there is an international, so there's sections in 16 other countries, slowly increasing that as well. We offer monthly events, usually, as similar with you, UKHA. Usually we would meet up in a hotel and have a show round and a drink on a monthly basis. At the moment, obviously that's changed slightly. So we've been doing what we've called, so we refer to ourselves as the Amical, which is all to do with friendship. So we've referred to our monthly get-togethers as an amicalist natter. When we first started them during the first lockdown, we were actually doing them on a weekly basis, and then we started 2 weekly, and now we're doing them fortnightly. We've also, obviously, because we can't do show rounds anymore, we've had to adapt a little bit, and we've had some virtual show rounds on our Zoom calls. But sorry, back to what AICR does. We also, very important part of what we do is we do the Receptionist of the Year competition every year. That this year has had to be done completely virtually, but usually it would be very much face-to-face, involving role plays. And then the winner of the Receptionist of the Year goes forward to an international competition to win the World's Best Receptionist, which just took place in April, and the lovely Max from Switzerland won. What else do we do? We also do a lot of mentoring, which we just started a few years back. So all of our finalists from the Receptionist of the Year competition all get a choice to pick a mentor, which is with them for a year. And that's something we're looking at rolling out within AICR International now. We have it set up in Switzerland, but looking to expand on that.
That's amazing. That's really loads of things that you're doing to support your members. Would you say that, you know, your organization has been sort of important sort of anchor for your members during COVID?
The ones of us who've been working, I think, probably wouldn't feel that, but we've been really touched by people who have messaged us and said, you know, it's been a lifeline. That is honestly a word from somebody. And, you know, for us, it was just important to keep in touch with everybody. And, you know, some of us have been working throughout, but the ones who have furloughed and, you know, we thought, do we need to carry on with the meetings, you know, as often as we were? But everybody seemed to want to. So we were there for those who wanted us. And, yeah, we've had some really touching comments from people that, you know, just getting together and being here, even though it's online, has helped them. And then we've done quite a few other things. So we had somebody, so our Scottish section have been a lot more involved, which is something we wouldn't have been able to do normally, because obviously we're usually meeting in London. I think we have one Scottish member, Annie, who's one of our honorary members, joined us tonight. So it's been very different in that being able to hold virtual meetings has meant so many more people have been able to get involved.
That's so true. Lorraine, would you mind introducing UKHA for those members of the AICR that are on the call tonight, and tell us a little bit about what it looked like before and what it looks like now?
So good evening again. My role is the national chair, and then we're broken into several different regions throughout the country. So each region has their own chairperson. And before COVID, what used to happen, I'll use London as an example because it's my nearest region, and Liana's the chairperson in that region. We would hold monthly meetings, which we would get at least 120 people to. It'd be a networking, socialising meeting, but also we would pick a core subject. So maybe one of our sponsors would come and speak. We'd have different types of speakers. So it was a really interactive type of meeting. And then COVID happened, and then we had to be diverse, like we all did. A lot of our members continued to work. Some were furloughed. Throughout the whole of lockdown, we have continued to hold Zoom calls with our members. We've only done them once a month. But the bonus, I think, that's happened is a bit like Nicola said. It's allowed us to talk to all of our regions. We've all been able to, so we haven't done it, we've taken it in turns regionally to host our meetings. It's meant that we've all been able to, whereas normally London meet, and we don't all see each other. We probably only see each other once a year. So this has been a massive bonus to be able to see each other. And support-wise, each of our regions have set up WhatsApp groups. We've continued to keep our website alive with news and government website updates, so everyone's up to speed. And then the other thing that we did as a group, which Joe and Del were really helpful with us, was we put our toolkit together. So it was a COVID toolkit, because again, when COVID hit, none of us really knew what it all meant, how to sanitize rooms, what we had to do. So we worked together, we collaborated with several other housekeepers, and we put together this toolkit. So it meant that when we opened first time last year, housekeepers were ready, and their mind was ready. They knew their suppliers, they knew where to purchase the sanitizing equipment they needed, they knew the cleaning regime. So that was really, really helpful. So yeah, so I think we're all looking forward now to our next big meeting. Some of our regions have already started to book. Have some meetings being confirmed. I think one's the 30th of June. London is looking at our barbecue in September. Be our first time we'll all be able to get together, we think. But I think we will carry on doing Zoom calls, because I think it's a lovely way of all of us being able to talk to
I was about to start whining about what about me? I was brought in just for the Zoom meetings. Can I come to the barbecue? But you know,
I had to say, we have to say a huge thank you to Jo. I mean, she definitely was brought in and has been an absolute lifesaver, being our host and keeping the conversations flowing. And so, yeah, Jo, it has been our little sidekick, our little housekeeping sidekick. Nothing to do with housekeeping before that, and now she knows everything.
I hope that, you know, people have been trying to train me for the last 15 years in how to do a good corner, you know, on the bed, and I am untrainable. I've trained many housekeepers in leadership and management, and many housekeepers have tried to train me back, and I don't think I would ever, you know, earn my membership to UKHA based on a merit, but I can earn it based on, you know, being useful. But can I ask you a couple of things, and if there's no one else who wants to ask something in the terms of membership and how it works, there's always been this mythical divide between the front of house and housekeeping. Is that still apparent in the hotels that are open and working? Obviously, some of the hotels are open for outdoor hospitality. Some of them have self-managed cottages and things like that. But, you know, in the time that we were open from, you know, July till November and moving forward, do you think that there's still going to be this, you know, mythical divide between the departments, or do you think that gap is narrowing and closing? Nicola, if I can start with you. Lorraine, over to you, but then anyone from the audience, you know, feel free to jump in and post a comment or chat to us.
Yeah, I mean, I have to say, I do very much think it is mythical. I've never worked in a hotel where I've had a problem with housekeeper. I may just have always been very lucky. But for all the hotels, I mean, when I worked at the Lanesborough with Mrs. Bamford, she was amazing to work with. I don't know. I do think it's very much mythical. I think maybe it's also to do with, you know, your perception and, you know, I don't know. But what I would say is since December at Heckfield Place, we've very much been working together. And I think that's perhaps changed. And I mean, obviously, there is the thing of we've got different sort of battles to, so front office, we've got the guest in front of you. I think that's perhaps where it could stem from, in that we've got the guest in front of us and we need the room there and then, and so we call housekeeping and it's like, you need it now, and then they've got their other issues that perhaps, you know, front office don't always understand. So I think it's very much an understanding. And what I was about to say was in December we were, I mean, I have to say I do know it's very different for London hotels. I'm fortunate to work in a country house hotel where it's been crazy busy and the few times we've been able to reopen. And so we were pretty much 95% occupancy throughout December, and we couldn't cope with it. Housekeeping were run ragged. We couldn't get our rooms ready for check-in time because of all the extra procedures and things. And so we had our front office team going and helping housekeeping, and they come back with so much respect for the girls that are working there. And I think that acknowledgement and realization of what they actually have to go through, I think that if there is ever an issue, I think that sort of puts a different light on it and makes them realize actually, and just an understanding between each other. And I think that what Katie said about listening deeply, you don't know what's going on in somebody else's head or what they've got to do that's more of a priority. You want the room there and then because you've got the guest in front of you, but you know there's a guest in house that you haven't got in front of you, and so you're not understanding that. So yeah, I think understanding each other and talking, and yeah.
I think, Nicola, that you have been super lucky, I think, working together, because, you know, I've done a study about 5-6 years ago, where I've looked into the timings for the cleaning of the rooms or getting the rooms back by 2 o'clock in a particular hotel, and narrowed it down to a specific reception supervisor that the housekeepers wouldn't work with and wouldn't work for. So I was shocked because I was doing a study of why is this working? Why is this not working? It's the same day of the week, same guests, regulars. There's nothing different. What's different? And I was able to narrow it down to people and specific departments. And it's really interesting because I think some people are really lucky and have that collaborative approach, but it could be that it's individual and that these two positions sometimes clash or I don't know. Lorraine, what's your take on this? Have you had, were you lucky in your career to always have smooth sailing and plain sailing, or have you had challenges? And what about moving forward?
Sorry, Jo, I missed that last bit.
And what about moving forward?
Challenges, what did you say? I'm very similar to Nicola. I've always had really good relationships with front office, but I think that's about the manager, the person that's running the department. And I've always made it my business to go and say good morning to the receptionist, to say good morning to the front office manager, to be around and know what the day's like. One of my biggest, I think, accolades, I would say, with housekeeping and reception was when I was at Aurora International, and we had the KPIs there was as the flight attendants got off the bus, we had 11 minutes to get them off the bus, checked in, get their money because they were crew, and get up to their bed. They had to be shutting that door within 11 minutes. And when we opened that hotel, we were running at 130% on day one. And I was like, what's going on? It was like we were on first floor, then we were on fifth floor. And me and the receptionist, well, we were near to killing each other. And we were like, we need to breathe, we need to stop. What we devised was housekeeping actually took over reception and the allocations until 10 o'clock every morning. So we will tell you what rooms you don't tell us, we'll tell you. And that worked. So that even happens still now, that housekeeping do the allocations and they tell you what room you're having, and it worked. And then at 10 o'clock, we reverted back to what I call the normal hotel. So the girls would go, I'm a second floor, or I'm checking third floor, and they would stay on their floors. But from 6 a.m. till 10, we all just bounced around all the different floors, and reception came and they worked with us as well. So they shadowed us and we shadowed them. So it works both ways. Like Nicola said, when you've got a guest in front of you screaming they want their room, their child's tired, or they need to go to the loo, it's really hard to say no. So you pick the phone up because you want to say, I've asked housekeeping. It's not my fault. That's an easy thing, isn't it? But I believe as a manager, we're all in it. I think, as Katie said earlier, we're all in this together. We want the guests to be happy. We want to be happy. So it's about communicating. So I've had very good relationships with the front office.
As long as they let housekeeping rule the hotel until 10 a.m.
Exactly. Exactly.
That's what I picked up. I don't know what you picked up. No, I'm just joking. It really makes a difference. What James is saying as well here is an experience from a smaller central London hotel when operating with a skeleton team during the lockdown. It makes a difference that the team is brought together, and those relationships will be vital for the future. So I absolutely think that even if there were challenges before, that gap is narrowed because of the experiences and cross training, and not the cross training, the tick box activity that we used to have before, where you go for a day and you shadow and you're like, I never want to do this in my life. You don't experience until you actually get your hands dirty, whether that's reception or housekeeping or wherever. So I think it really makes a difference. And James says that they had assistant housekeeping manager checking guests in, rooming, storytelling, and that really that cross nation of the ideas and doing things in different ways can make a difference. Again, Lorraine, let's start with you, but any of the members of this chat, feel free to drop a note about what you think about this question. We've had our challenges in the past, not understanding each other's positions, job roles, challenges, and so forth. What can you see as challenges of the future, and what are the opportunities of the future for the two organizations that you're running and that you work with?
So I think the opportunities, I would imagine that over, obviously I'm not in a hotel, but I would imagine, and listening to all of our members, that over this last period, people have worked really closely together. So, as you've said, housekeepers and front office managers or restaurant, everyone's had to do a slightly different job because maybe they aren't fully staffed, or that maybe the hotel hasn't got great occupancies. So I think that that's great opportunities. And challenges is now going to be how we're going to deal with our guests and how we're going to make our guests feel loved, looked after, without all of that touchy-feely stuff. So they're going to be our challenges, aren't they? And from a housekeeping point of view, the challenge we're going to have is actually cleaning our rooms. It's going to take us longer to clean our rooms. So that means the guests are going to be even more angry. I mean, already now we can see check-in times. Some have gone into 4:30. You need to be out by 10 and you can't check in till 4:30. That's going to be a challenge. So I think there's going to be, it's going to be harder on the girls, on the teams, on the housekeeping teams, the longer times they've got to clean. So I think they're going to be some big challenges.
Fair point. And Nicola, what do you think from your perspective, challenges and opportunities?
Yeah, well, the amount of time it's taken to clean rooms, and we have actually changed our check-in and check-out time. So our check-in time is now 4 o'clock and check-out at 11. Yeah. We left it as it was for December, but it caused us no end of problems. Well, we've managed it, but we've got a screening room, luckily. So we put on films at 3 o'clock, which actually works quite well. So if the room wasn't ready, it sort of, in terms of biding time a little bit and occupying the guests until the room was ready.
I love that idea. I don't think I've heard that before. This is the first time I've heard someone doing that.
It worked until we then had to close.
Yeah. That's really good. That's really good. And the opportunities, moving forward, can you see anything positive coming out of all of this, whether for relationship between the departments or for hospitality in general?
I know we touched on technology. We've put in, we're actually in the process of, so when we open on Monday, we'll be using it. We've got an online check-in, which if you talk to me 2 years ago, Heckfield Place is not something that would have gone down that route ever. It's just, nice paper and pen, yes, but not anything on a technology-wise. But we have actually realised that, the amount of time it's going to save and the amount of, duplication of work with the guests having to write everything in a reg card and then receptionist having to update it in Opera is pointless. So, and it means that, time is freed up. that our staff get to spend more time talking to guests and just chatting and doing their real job rather than sort of the admin kind of side of things. So yeah, and then also we've put in digital media for our magazines. We've been very lucky in that we've made ours quite bespoke, so we've got a lot of artwork in the hotel, so we've added that, which we'd always wanted to do but didn't quite work out how we could do it. But so now every single piece of artwork that's in the hotel is shown on our iPad, so all of our rooms have got an iPad, and again, that's things that, you know, it's not Heckfield, it's not something we'd have ever dreamt of doing, but actually now we've got it, we're very happy with it, and it's perhaps, you know, taken COVID to make us think, yes, we've got to do it because we're being forced into it, but perhaps it is for a good reason at the end of the day.
And that's happened in housekeeping as well. You know, the technology that we're using now, we would never have thought about using before, which really makes a difference. And that's a big thing. That's a big choice to make. We've had Peter Banks last week. It feels like it was last week. It might have been a bit longer, on one of the UKHA calls, talk about the fact that, you know, things happen that he never thought he would be approving in his hotel, like new technology, new processes, systems, and that actually it made all the difference to how he's running his hotel. So maybe all of this is not going to be something that leaves such a detrimental effect, and maybe we'll learn some new things and move forward in a positive way. Nicola, thank you so much for tonight. If anyone has any more questions, please feel free to ask whilst we're closing this, and I'll pose it here. But from UKHA, because I can see that Lorraine has disappeared, because she usually does when she needs to say something. No, I'm just joking. She is. From UKHA and in a second from Lorraine, we would like to sort of thank you tonight for actually joining us in this historic moment of two organizations talking together. We're ever so hopeful that there might be other opportunities to actually collaborate and maybe, you know, see whether we can have a joint competition between the receptionists and housekeepers doing each other's jobs and learning a little bit more about each other's jobs, and that might sort of encourage a bit more understanding between different functions and different jobs in hospitality. In the meantime, thank you very much, Nicola. Thank you for joining us tonight, and thank you for bringing Katie along. She was an absolute joy to listen.
Thank you, Jo.
Thank you.
Absolute pleasure. And on behalf of
Jo, thank you.
AICR. Oh, there's Lorraine. She's back. So she didn't run
Sorry,
away.
I got kicked off the wind. The wind kicked me out. Thank you. Just before everyone goes, we just really wanted to find out as well if people want to carry on Zoom calls. So we will be touching base with our members, and because this might be a good way of us continuing to communicate, even though we'll still meet in our own regions as well. So, but thank you very much. It was great to meet you all, and Nicola, we'll do it again soon.
Yeah. First of many.
If I can ask for all UKHA members to put your thumbs up if you fancy continuing the Zoom calls. You can actually find them, I suppose, when you click on more, you can actually put some emojis, or you can put yes or no. Yes, people are saying would like to continue with Zoom.
Okay.
Drop us a note. I've got a thumbs up, a couple of places. So I'm Lorraine. I think I'm getting a yes.
Okay. Good.
But what
That's fab.
Quite a few yeses. What we can do is we can run a poll next time, because I've worked out how to do them. Thank you so much, everyone. It's been absolutely lovely sharing this and working with both of the organizations, and we will see you soon. Bye, everyone.
Thanks. Good night, everybody.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye. Bye.
I like that idea.
Blended meetings. I like that idea as well. I like that word.
Bye.
Thank you. Thanks.